Good afternoon, everybody. I am out here with a couple of GI reenactors that portray World War II units. This is Austin and Mike, and we're glad to have them out here. So what I'm going to do is let each one kind of go over their impression, go over their gear and their weapons. So we'll be getting to look at some older weapons today, which are always a plus on this channel. So Mike, tell me a little bit about what you've got going on here.
Okay, basically it's the M1 Garand, the famed in song and story and legend, workhorse of the U.S. military in that time frame. It served up into Vietnam with our forces and is still being heard around the world today. It's 30-06, gas powered, clip fed, not a magazine. The magazine's in the weapon, but that's your M block. It's a 30-06. It's a man stopper.
What's your typical combat load for ammunition for a troop?
Load would be, if you could get a hold to it, the M1903 or 1910 cartridge belt, at least 1 or 2 bandoliers. I think it was the 7 bandoliers. I'm sorry, 7 pockets for the clips. So you're looking at 10, 16, looking at 26 times 8 rounds. So not the modern combat load of 210 rounds today, but for that time period, that's a bunch of ammo.
And big ammo.
Yeah, and as you can see, starts throwing down range. And the 30-06 was developed initially to stop a charging cavalry horse. So she's got some oomph behind her.
Yes, they do, and it's still a popular cartridge today.
A lot of deer hunters in this area, well, around the world. Not a bad weapon at all.
No, it isn't.
It weighs 9 pounds, and if you want to just add to the sheer terror factor of it, this is the longer bayonet. This is the M1903 bayonet, or 16-inch blade. The alleged blood groove in it.
That's going to give you some up close and personal protection.
And it now is about 11 pounds.
And your sling is a canvas style.
Yes. They initially came out with a leather. They went to canvas about 42 or 43 would have conserved leather. They had to have boots, which is more important, a sling or a pair of boots on the GI.
Protect your feet.
And that's it, because if the feet are moving, so are you.
So what's your impression?
This would be basically a entry-level, if I can get the bayonet off here, I'll leave it right now. This would be just a basic entry-level U.S. GI infantry. It's what they call 11 Bravo now. And no frills, a 1 quart to 1910 canteen, a cartridge belt that'll hold your clips in it. They were actually designed for the 03 Springfields and P-17s. As time went on, they adapted to the Garand. Now, the helmet, standard M1, steel pot. The net would be about circa 43 or so, maybe late war. A lot of the netting changed over the years, but I mean, it's the same thing, generally. And then something every GI thing has not been oiled lately. It's been a pain in the butt to come off. All right, improvise. Now some people just shriek going, but hey, that's what they use them for. Something a lot of guys, if they got a hold to, 38, the Smith & Wesson revolver.
That's parkerized or blue?
Nope, that is, I think it's parkerized initially, but it's just over time is worn off. And on the butt, if you'll notice, you've got the flaming ordnance pot with the V, and then your serial number there at the base.
So would that have been a private purchase or an issue?
With the what they call the piss pot, it would have been an issue type and some of them had which branch they were issued to. I've seen them for the Navy, for the Army. The rare ones have USMC stamped on them. It's a 38 special caliber, which was, you know, a good stopper. And if a GI could get a hold of one through a private purchase, a lot of heads were turned because, hey, it was going to bring them home.
Yep. Weapons needed during the war.
And name it, if they got their hands on it, they'd carry it. I've got a few more things over there if you want to go over there and look at it real quick.
Yeah, we'll take a look. We're going to talk to an airborne reenactor. This is Austin. Austin, if you'll tell us a little bit about what you're carrying and what your impression is.
Yes, sir. I am Staff Sergeant Austin Jeffers of the 508th HQ PIR, Air Infantry Regiment, 82nd Airborne. Today I am demonstrating the bare minimum of equipment that would have been used after post-jump at Normandy. Notice that my gear is a combination of OD number 7 and OD number 3. This is to signify the shortages of supplies and everything else that was going on during the wartime production. Notice that my carbine is not in the paratrooper configuration because it does not have the foldable stock. However, both versions of this weapon were used. The M1 carbine is a 15-round detachable box magazine fed weapon. As you can tell, it's an intermediate cartridge, which means it shoots somewhere in between a rifle and a pistol, though it is not either accommodating to either. This was designed to give you the stopping power of a rifle, but without the added weight and overall. It's a very practical weapon, but unfortunately, it lacks in range what the M1 Garand has. But it makes up for it by having extra bullet capacity, unlike its bigger brother. And also to accent the role in the event that I have to get and engage targets faster than what I am, I have the 1911 service pistol. This one in particular is a 45 caliber, 7-round magazine fed pistol.
Now, would that have been issued to you, or would it have been private purchase?
Interesting story on that. See, originally, this particular weapon here was supposed to replace the service pistol. However, that did not happen because as these weapons became more abundant and as pistols became more abundant, it was not uncommon to see troopers carrying both of these weapons, mostly amongst the airborne because, well, airborne were known for tactically acquiring certain weapons, and certain procurements required certain rank and privileges, but for the most part, no one ever batted an eye if a private managed to land his hands on one of these things. But they were both issued and tactically acquired.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about the unit you've got. Where are you based out of?
We're based out of Burlington, North Carolina, even though we're scattered all over the face of North Carolina. We got some members up in Henderson, we got some in Gastonia, got some in Hickory, and we got myself there in Burlington.
Typical of reenactor units that they're
yes, very
dispersed. Okay.
And of course, we recruit multiple people, no matter what. I mean, usually our general recruitment age is about 16. Unfortunately, you can't carry a rifle until we are certain you can responsibly handle one. But for the most of the part, you're going to be portraying a medic at any given time.
And folks, get in touch with us if you're interested in GI reenacting or World War II reenacting. We can probably get you an answer on one unit or another. We have got some infantry gear set up here. We're getting ready to do some shooting with period weapons, so there is some modern ammo in there. Just disregard that. But this is, Mike, this is what you would carry with you in the field?
Yeah. Depending on the time frame, you may have the 1943 type straps. It's pretty much akin to our modern web gear, which is what the staff sergeant over here is wearing. Set up for a carbine. Another little blade here that came out and is the precursor for the M1 carbine, a bayonet. It's an M3 fighting knife.
So it doesn't hook up to the rifle?
No, it's just a straight hilt there, no hole. And on the blade is stamped US M3 1943.
The blade looks similar to the M7 for the M16s.
The pattern hasn't changed in all those years. It's still for stabby and causing leakage. Now, a lot of folks saw the big bayonet a while ago I had on the Grand. Well, as time went on and metal shortages for weapons and other material came out, they just shortened the bayonet. Some of them have been chopped over the years, like an angle cut up like that. They cut them off, they took the metal and forged something else. This is a 10-inch blade. It will still do the same thing as a 16 will. It's going to make a hole through you.
Looks like a Mauser bayonet.
Yeah, very similar.
Yep.
And if you look at, well, funny you mentioned that, Mr. Cameraman, the weapon that the bayonet was designed for initially was actually a pattern of the Mauser, the old M1903 Springfields. So there was a bit of a to-do about that, but they lost the war, so they got some money out of the deal. Anyway, that being said, a throwback to World War I.
Oh yes.
The old knuckle duster. It was a triple threat. You had the blade, the skull crushing pummel there, and if it got up close and personal, there you go.
Set of knuckles.
And these were used all throughout the war by basic infantrymen who could get a hold to them. A lot of guys who jumped had them stuck wherever they could on their bodies. A lot of them were tied down here low, but they served through 2 wars. Now, I call it Pacific Theater. Notice the poncho slash aligner here.
With the camo?
Yep. That wouldn't have been issued in Europe for the simple reason the Germans were using camo. You didn't want to confuse your guys with it now. In the Pacific, very few Japanese at camo uniforms ever. I've never seen one. I'm sure they may have had them, but you know, these were ponchos like they have today, just they didn't have a hood to them, but it served a purpose as a ground tarp or a cover or what have you, and sometimes a stretcher. Now, this is a modern version of the case 1836 rather. This was also a pattern, I believe it was M1944 fighting knife that was found on the bailout bags of pilots. Before Guadalcanal, the Marines had a group called the Raiders. Well, they were going in the jungle. What do you need in the jungle? A good blade. They appropriated every one that they could. Some were store-bought, some were got the official channels, some were just liberated. And if you'll see some of the pictures of those gentlemen during that time frame, a lot of them have one right there. It's a stained blade knife. It's a large bladed Bowie style knife, good for fighting or utility work, what have you.
You could probably get some chopping done with that one too,
yeah.
in jungle
Yes.
environments.
Yes, very, very functional. And then we have something I'm sure every GI of that era was.
Every soldier's favorite.
The good old entrenching tool.
Still useful today.
In fact, I carried one of these while I was active duty. You have an angle head, the straight shank, digging, the edges were beveled, a great axe, and if you're hungry enough to get it clean, you got a good frying pan. On the other end of it, if they're coming through the woods at night and they're on your perimeter, well, that's kind of self-explanatory. They do what you got to do, because the end result is come home.
Well, thank you, Mike, for showing us that.
Yes, sir.
And guys, we're going to load up and let them do some shooting so we can see some of these old weapons running. Okay, so that was the 45 that Staff Sergeant's shooting. Just to give you kind of a show, you've got 7 45 caliber rounds. I think those are 230 grain. So it could be a good personal defense weapon. Next up, we're gonna have an M1 Garand. That is firing a full cartridge 30-06.
Well, I'm gonna tease a little bit. I'm gonna go to 38.
Okay, we're gonna shoot 38 first then. Good job.
Just kind of make everybody kind of wait for it. In fact, if one of you gentlemen will hold my mule, please.
Six rounds, 38.
Kind of a letdown from the 45, but
I still love a 38 though.
yeah.
Yeah, I like hell. I love it. Get to your position. I'll tell you when to open fire.
Now.
Target eliminated.
Rory on that one, sir.
That was just a little brief overview of movements. I want to thank Austin and Mike for coming out and helping us today at Fly and Foul Training. Thank you all for watching. If you like what we're doing, consider giving us a thumbs up and subscribe.